Yes, that's absolutely right. So just let me start the recording.
Sure.
So good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? And I want to know, first of all, how has your Sunday been so far? Most of you have had your 8 to 10 a.m. classes. And Monica says, great, perfect, perfect. So today we are here with a very one of a kind session, because this is a session that we're doing it for the very first time. We haven't done, or we haven't attempted a AMA session ever, and this is the first of its kind. So I'm pretty sure that it would be a great session today. And all of you will go home after this session with a lot of learning, right? And that is something that I'm very certain of. And after this, the next part that I want to talk about is, a few days back, all of you must have received an email regarding this speaker session. And that speaker session mail had a Google form link in which all of you had to post your questions, right? So the sequence of the questions that we will be answering would be, the first, we'll answer the questions that have been posted in the Google form, right? And once we are done with the questions that are posted in the Google form, then we'll move to the live questions in the chat, right? So all of you who did not got the chance to post your questions in the Google form, you can ask your questions here from Karthi, and she will be more than happy to help you out with your answers, right? Now, before moving, let me give a very quick introduction of Karthi. So Karthi is right now a principal group designer at Microsoft. And if I have to tell you that if there is someone who knows design, it is Karthi, right? She knows human design, your UI, UX, product design, designing for your growth, designing for strategies, everything that you can think of, she has done it, right? So I will hand over the mic to Karthi for a quick introduction, because I would not take a lot of time from her. So over to you, Karthi.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's such a pleasure to be on a Sunday morning with a bunch of folks who are so interested, excited. Having a class at 8 a.m., it's crazy, that too on a Sunday. So thank you so much for being here and giving me this opportunity. If I need to put a timeline on my 20-year career so far, the first part of it was, like all of you, I started as a technologist. I did software engineering, and then I fell in love with human-computer interaction. And that's what took me into the strategic design, product management, and of course, entrepreneurship, and a little bit of angel investing, and burning your fingers. That's a different story. And finally, I also dabbled a little bit with building ecosystems, communities, and stuff like that. Now the circle is complete, and I'm back to helping the next billions with great products and value that we can actually make their lives better. So that's pretty much what my journey has been. Anything specific, if you would like to know, please ask, and I'll be happy to answer. Currently, my job at Microsoft is more around building horizontals around customer success and storytelling. Corporate storytelling is still in its nascent phases, I would say, but we are kind of pushing it and giving more confidence to our folks that if you need to influence without authority, then storytelling is your biggest hack. So let's support you, enable you. But if you want to build amazing value, you must be customer obsessed. And all these areas are something that I'm taking care of now for the India Development Center. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey in Microsoft. I'm exactly 11 weeks old in Microsoft. It's very, very nascent. So Bhagat, I may get a chance later, but not yet. You know how the market situations are. So we are on a hiring freeze, on a travel freeze, and all of that. Yeah. It's quite interesting going back to corporate after entrepreneurial stint, definitely.
Yes. And as you said, that if you want to exert influence without any authority, then storytelling is the only tool you have in your arsenal that you can use without pursuing anyone into doing something that they do not want to do. If
Yes.
you tell them a great story, as Tyrion says, there's nothing more powerful in this world than a good story.
Yes.
So it is something that I
Agree.
believe myself as well. And with this brilliant introduction and brilliant start to this session, let's start with the questions that we have got from the Google form, and then we'll move to the questions on the chat. So I would request everyone to hold on the questions on the chat till we are done on the questions on the Google's on the slides. And once we are done, then the chat is all yours. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask, and we'll help you out with those questions. Right? So everyone clear with the agenda for today? Can I get a quick yes in the chat? Yes, perfect. Great, great. Let's begin today. And let's begin today with the first questions. And the first question is a very heavy question at the very beginning. What are the key learnings and skills that are required to get a product management role at Microsoft? A company
Okay.
for a lot of people.
It's a super specific question about Microsoft.
Hmm.
I would take it a little bit broader and say, I think there are some skills that you would need to crack the product management role anywhere, not just Microsoft. So I would bucket the skills as meta skills, core skills, and auxiliary skills. So if I can kind of put it that way, your meta skills will be your storytelling, reading, writing, those kind of skills, the skills which are ubiquitous to your ability to articulate, to think, to do things like that. Your core skills will be around how you bring in product success, ability to understand design, having the voice of the customer, very specific to the product management role specifically. And there is auxiliary skills which will help you to kind of catalyze, or this is what helps you grow, right? Those kind of skills like negotiation, collaborating with your peers, managing your stakeholders, managing upward, executive, maturity. Those kind of skills will come under auxiliary skills. So you can live without auxiliary skills. If you want to get into a role, you can just go. But if you want to grow in the role, you definitely need it. How good is your meta skills and auxiliary skills? That is what will help you grow in your core skills. I will put it that way. So when it comes to product management role, there are three things which are like super, super important. One is understanding product success. If design screws up, the product success is dinged. If technology screws up, your success is dinged. For example, if your performance is poor from a loading perspective, stuff like that, your product will ding. If your business model is crap, for example, your pricing and all of that, you will still be dinged. So it is important to take care of all these angles to look into product success. A lot of people say that you sit in the center of desirability, viability, feasibility. No, I think that's a wrong definition of product manager. My personal opinion, being a product manager, I understand that is product experience. All of us coming together, we create experience. We don't create product success. The product success is outside, like it's a scaffold of all these different teams doing very important work. So that is the first skill. The second skill is ability to prioritize. There is 1,000 things to do, but what are you doing right now matters a lot. That prioritization comes with phenomenal strategic thought process. You cannot just like that prioritize. It's not inky pinky ponky, right? So you will have to know why you're doing what you're doing. Three is how you're taking decisions about what to put in. You're prioritizing, this is important, but even in that what is important, how do you do it? That matters a lot more. So these are the three skills I think every product manager needs. And especially in a large company, in any FANG you take, like either it is Microsoft or Amazon or Google or any of these big corporates who are building for next billion users, this becomes super important because you're not designing for a small group. You're designing for the world. Very, very different. So you need to have a little bit more responsibility and consciousness on what will work for all the customers out there who are also human beings. So I would kind of put it that way. Is that making sense?
Yes, absolutely. And as you said that success is something that should not be a metric for your product, and it should not be something that you build your product around, because success is something that's very variable from people inside the organization as well. For me, if I'm building a product, it could mean that someone who's using my product and their problem is getting solved, that's success for me. But for the people who are investing their money in the product, for them, at the end of
Very
the day,
different.
it's the
Very,
financial
very different.
outcome. Yeah.
So let me add one important point. Good that you brought it up. So product success, the first aspect is, are you succeeding with your customers? Because if you don't add value, if you take care of one thing, then it should be product success for the customer. As a side effect, your investor makes money, the company makes a good profit margin, and you will have better customers, growth and retention for that matter. So all of these aspects is pinned on, anchored on one thing, that your customer feels, I can't do without this product anymore. To bring that value, it's our job as product managers.
Great. That's absolutely bang on, and that is something that I resonate with the most as well. Because for me, it's like everything else is a byproduct. At the end of the day, if you are making the customer feel that, okay, this is a product that I need in my life, and this is something that will solve a major problem of my life, then I think that I built a decent product, right? So that was amazing, and I'm sure that everyone found this explanation very unique and different from what they've learned, because most of the time everyone tells them that the right product falls between that spectrum of desirability, viability, and feasibility. But
no,
counter,
in fact, I would put 4 circles:
Mhm.
desirability, viability, feasibility, and evidence. Because your data is your evidence. So the center of it is product experience. The circle around it, like the superset, is your product success. Because if you fail anywhere, you will be in the market, and market is ruthless.
Yeah, understood. Great. So we'll move to the next question. And the next question is, what does it take to be a top product person? Not just a product manager, but someone who
cares about products.
yeah, someone who loves products with their heart, not just by doing their job.
Okay, first we'll understand what is a product and then what is a person, because these are two different things. A product is a system, like all systems. Your solar system is a system, your constellation is a system, your plumbing is a system, your electrical wiring is a system, your government is a system, society is a system, market is a system, all of that, right? So your product is something that is repeatable and scalable system. You are not shipped along with the product to do it. That is what happens in a service. It's not repeatable and scalable. So when you're making something repeatable and scalable, it means you need to be awesome with system thinking. If you don't think in systems and subsystems, you can't make a product, which is very successful, right? The person part of it, all human beings, 99.9% of us are similar. And look at us. Our customers are human beings. Our managers are human beings. Our stakeholders are human beings. Our bosses are human beings. Our peers are human beings. And thank God we are not designing for dogs and cats, right? So we are designing for human beings. So if you want to become a good product person, you need to understand how the human being works. See, in one sense, it's very crazy that I say it, but we are also a system. Yeah, there is some 11 or systems in the body. There are about 320 muscle groups. There is about 70 organs. It works a certain way. It's a system. So whenever there is a system, you need to work with the system and not against the system. If you work against the system, you will have friction, right? So if you want to be a good product person, then you need to understand how human nature works. I will put it in 4 buckets: human nature, human behaviors, human systems, and your overarching how you can kind of understand a human being, the cognitive biases, the way our body is built, and stuff like that. The minute you understand that, you become a better human being. First, you need to be a better human being with enough understanding so that you can bring the good human being into the work, and you start working for the human centricity. And if I take it one step forward, it is not human centric anymore. That's not enough. We need to become humanity centric, because your human is not going to tell you, I want the climate to get better. I want sustainability to be taken care. So these are all things that nobody is going to come and give you as a requirement. So we need to look at humanity centric design. That will not happen if you are not a person who is thinking human. If you do not understand human, you don't get there. So if you need to be product person, then you need to understand how to create systems and subsystems in a repeatable, scalable manner that adds value to this human being, and their lives are made better. It is not just their lives. My life is also made better. So that's a way of, that's how I would think about a top product person. Because if you really talk to good product people, they're empathetic, they care about things, they are focused on adding value, they are focused on being lazy, because they don't want to do the same things again and again. They want to do it once, and that takes care of it, right? That repeatability, scalability comes from that laziness. So I feel it is important that a top product person should think like that.
Understood. And here I'll just go out and ask a very interesting question that I think might not be the right question to ask here. What outweighs the other one, whether it is product or person?
I'll be selfish and I will say that the more you take care of this person, you will create better products. So the opposite is not true, right? You might be awesome at creating product, but you might suck as a person, and that's not a good thing. So I would want the superset to be self-care and really understanding, taking care of you, and because of that, you take care of people around you. That's why you create products, isn't it?
Yeah, understood. Great. And Mohit has got a very interesting takeaway from this answer, that
should be lazy.
A person should be lazy.
Absolutely. No, I am proud to say that I'm one of the most laziest people, because that is what helps me eliminate things that are not important. That can be repeatable and scalable. I will just make it into a system. I don't focus on goals. I focus on systems. So the more systemic your life becomes, structured it will become. And laziness will take you there. Otherwise, you will be hardworking. You will be overworking. Not needed.
Understood. Yes. And that is something that I face when I work as well. So I'll try to incorporate this as well. I'll let my laziness take control.
Define you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So let's move to the next question. And can you name a few UI pitfalls that prevent a good product from being great? So here comes the human-computer interaction part of, where does the lack of human-computer interaction fall that can stop a great product from being great?
I am not a very big fan of tips and tricks and techniques. To me, methods are many, but principles are a few. So you can actually put all principles within your fingers, and methods are dime a dozen. There's so many ways in which you can. So I can go ahead and give you 100 pitfalls, like, what is stopping. But I want to talk about the principle of how you can avoid, certain pitfalls so that your product automatically becomes great, right?
Mm.
It depends on your focus. It depends on what you focus on your UI, right?
Mm.
Um, so lot of times I hate this word UX UI
Mm.
because user experience and UI are an integral part of each other, because that's how experience is created. How could we separate UX and UI? I mean, it can't be separated.
Mm.
Damn, I don't know who got that word, right? So your UI is the visible, tangible understanding of your customer and the experience that we are creating. So the invisible, intangible, abstract experience gets translated into a tangible, visible, concrete user interface, which means every decision you take in every pixel that you have on your UI, you
Mm.
need to ask why. Why did we do this? If you don't have a rationale behind that button or a checkbox or a radio button, that means we didn't think through.
Mm.
So there is nothing like the UX doesn't sit separately and UI doesn't sit separately, right? So every pixel in your user interface. So think about it in the atomic way, like your atoms and molecules and compounds. Start thinking about the elements and components and widgets and screens and workflows and features. That's how your pyramid gets built up.
Mm.
So if you are not taking care of the minutest parts like your elements and components, you are going to see a magnified view of pitfalls.
Mm.
Your usability will get affected because you didn't take care of it at the core, right? In that sense, I would say everything behind, that there must be a reason behind every pixel that you have put. If you don't have a reason, don't have that pixel. This is one simple way to avoid all complexity, right? So today, our user interface is far more complex than what it should be. That has another reason. I always ask, especially in my consulting career, I used to ask, like, how good is your tech team? Okay. So founders used to get affected, especially CTOs get offended when I ask this question. What do you mean? We have the greatest of the tech people. I said, sir, calm down. If I'm going to simplify a lot of things in the UI, you need to do a lot of heavy lifting in the architecture. Will your tech people be able to do? Lot of UI nonsense happens because technology was unable to do it.
Mm.
There is an imagination. We always were good at imagination. As human beings, from 100,000 years ago, we were good at imagination. The imagination getting engineered into a UI needs technology. So it is directly proportional to the technical ability that we have that our UI pitfalls are. So a lot of nonsense happens in UI because an engineer couldn't code it. And as a result of it, we added few more clicks, few more buttons. Oh, I couldn't save it, so I will ask the user to save it and then save it again and then save it again, and the user will come back and say that's nonsense, right? So your technical ability matters a lot, especially architectural ability matters a lot. The third one is understanding UI in the form of so when I talk about UI, it's very hard. So let's talk about a home, right? When you're building a home, you start with one blueprint, right? So your architects bring that blue paper to you. That defines the structure of how this building is going to be. What do we say? We say there are going to be 4 bedrooms, there are going to be, 2 bathrooms or 4 attached bathrooms. There is a kitchen here. So you're just discussing structural elements. And then you say, oh, here are the behavioral elements. We will have a pneumatic pump. We will have, invisible toilets. We will have, concrete, or sometimes wood, or sometimes depending upon the material that we are choosing, right? That's a behavioral aspect. And finally comes, oh, that doorknob needs to be awesome. I need a chandelier in my home. I need a tile which is, Italian, all that stuff. That's aesthetics. So it's structure, behavior, aesthetics. When we see UI, we only see aesthetics. Unfortunately, when you see a home, you only see aesthetics, right? Nice sofa, big room. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I love your tiles. That's all our human subjectivity can see. So what happens is we only see the UI element, aesthetic element, and below that is structural and behavioral elements. Only your information architect and interaction designer, ideally should do. A lot of companies don't even have them. We have our graphic designers to come and do user interfaces. So what happens is that person does his or her best and puts the UI, and as a result of it, they make a lot of usability mistakes. Mistakes, right? You start from tiles and paint and color and this and that, and you're missing the structure and behavioral aspects. So when you integrate structure, behavior, aesthetic, that is your UI. So go and find, what did we miss in structure? If I put my kitchen and my bathroom next to each other, it's going to suck. I can't have my puja room and my toilet next to each other. There are some things that doesn't work. So you can fix it in the structure. And I see a lot of information problems in UI rather than aesthetic problems. We only talk about cool. How many of you feel cred is cool? Right? But when you use it, you'll be like, oh my God, why does this suck? Why can't I find what I want? That's what happens. Coolness takes you to one level, subjectivity, but the objectivity is in the UI, right? So I feel we should take care of these aspects. I can go on and on about these things, but a great product takes care of the integrated aspect of structure, behavior, aesthetics. A great product has amazing technology collaboration from the architectural as well as the uplifting. You should be able to engineer my imagination. For me, drawing in one sketch and Figma, that doesn't take it to the customer. Dude, your code does. So work with me closely. Look at organizations. The developers and designers are cats and dogs. Doesn't work. So those are all the things that I would take care to not have UI pitfalls. Otherwise, it will become tips and tricks, which is not, that's not how I will see it.
Understood. So the simpler it is for the user, the more
eliminate. Make the user lazy and accomplished. Like how I am telling you to be lazy. Your user also wants to be lazy. Take care of things for them. So there's this beautiful line which Professor Clayton Christensen said, your user doesn't want a 1/4 inch drill. All he cares about is a 1/4 inch hole. The drill helps you with the hole. But if you can get that thing, jobs to be done, right? If you can get that thing done, even without drilling a hole, you got it, man.
Yeah.
That's how we should be thinking. Your user doesn't care. So I'm sure you're all product managers and you're learning about jobs to be done, right? So there's a functional jobs to be done. There's a social jobs to be done. There is an emotional jobs to be done. There's a supportive jobs to be done. Remove as much of supportive jobs to be done as much as possible, because nobody likes to work more, right? Nobody. So it's important that you make your user lazy and accomplished in the UI.
Understood. And great, because I got this learning a few days back from my mentor, Mr. Suchit, that remove as much friction as you can for the user.
Absolutely.
And then you see that whatever you desire from the user is actually doing that. So that is something that we have had a discussion, and this is something that reminds me of that. The simpler you can make it for the user, go ahead and make it. Even if it
simplicity is sophisticated, Gaurav. As much as we talk about it, You cannot make something simple just like that. It needs a lot of work. And that's something we don't understand because human mind is like, Arey. So when my bosses tell me, damn, it is so simple. Why did we take so much time? I'm like, thank God you asked me that. Thank God. Because, when it sounds like, what an idiot. Why did we not do this 3 months ago? It took 3 months to really come here, right? Simplistic, complicated, complexity, and then simplicity, right? So it is a process, it's a journey. So earlier I used to get offended. Not anymore. These days I smile at it.
Yeah. So great, perfect. And yes, so I think everyone got the point. Simplicity is a process. Yes, Nishant, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah. Now another one more iteration of something that we discussed. What is an ideal product?
I'm going to break your heart and say there is nothing called as an ideal product. Why? Human beings, you and I, are insanely greedy. Insanely, right? Today, we will want something. Tomorrow, we will want more of it. Day after tomorrow, we want even more of it. So when our desirability is not going to be contained, your product also cannot be ideal. The day a human being becomes ideal, then your product is ideal. No, it will not be, because we are going to keep yesterday's wow is today's hygiene. And that's what is going to happen hereafter. 10 years ago, Swiggy was like, wow, I didn't know that I can order. Today, it's a part of your lunch, dinner, and breakfast. So there is nothing like an ideal product. We will keep evolving. And that is how products become better and better. They evolve with us.
Understood. So, yeah, and this is something that we commonly see while we talk about smartphones, because they evolve in a month or so. So right now you have a total different technology in a
every
month.
day. Every day.
And yeah, it would be obsolete, and you'll be like, okay, why did I even invest in this? Because after some time there was something better coming. But
Absolutely.
what I'm to understand is that there's always something better coming.
Absolutely. So there is this question from Nishant. Let me take it on the go because it's an interesting question. So what's about this nostalgia? What's about this, 100 years down the line, then suddenly this is put in a museum, right? What about that? I want to answer that in two parts. One is what human beings respect scarcity. In fact, they revere scarcity. The more scarce something is, we chase it. Look at us. Look at anything that we can't get. The next best job, I'll be happy. If I marry that person, I'll be happy. If I get that salary, I will be happy. So we keep chasing. The dopamine is in the chase, right? So scarcity is something that we go for. Look at us, even when we choose our life partners, we kind of look for the person who doesn't care so much about you and doesn't give a damn about you. We love these rowdy boys and girls, right? So somewhere, so it's a very interesting phenomena from psychology that scarcity is revered, whereas abundance is not cared for. If there is so much of something, then we will say, it's a commodity, right? Suddenly it becomes a commodity. So your nostalgia comes from that scarcity. Everything that goes to the museum, there's only one piece of it, or probably two pieces. That's it. Very scarce. So your luxury goods are scarce because not everybody can afford it, right? Your Supreme is scarce. That is why, you buy that stupid sneakers for $400, which is, it could have been bought at $20 as well, right? So that's where your product, where you're going to place it matters a lot. Are you going to be in the luxury segment, scarce, or are you going to be in the mass commodity segment? So it's a very interesting, thing to think about.
Understood. Yep. And I think the closest thing that I can relate to this entire phenomena is when you build a product that only serves a niche that only a few people can get and only a few people might be interested in. So something can be rare, but it is that only two people are interested in that thing.
Right. There are pros and cons for both. Then your TAM will be so poor. Right? Thank you. So it is interesting that how we manage the niche and the market. So it's a we need to balance a lot of different things to get it right. You can't just like that create a luxury product.
Yeah, understood. Great. So yes, abundance is not cared for and scarcity is revered. Absolutely, Nishant. So with this, that we move to the next question, which is a very controversial statement that I think that product management, globally, the product management spectrum is divided, whether the product manager is the CEO of the product or not. In my opinion, he's not the CEO. They are not the CEO of the product, but everyone would like to know your opinion on this. Do you think the product manager is the CEO of the product? And if you do, then why?
For that, we need to understand what is a CEO first. Let's worry about the CEO of the product later, right? A CEO is someone who doesn't know everything, right? Depends on the team, and but is accountable for everything that happens in the company. This is one head which will go to the guillotine if something doesn't work. I take all the blame. So I handle the success of the company, whether it is profitability, attrition, attracting good people, performance, whatever, right? But does the CEO know everything? Like, is the CEO superstar in design or product or no? Maybe not. In fact, when you talk to your CEOs, you will see that they don't know as much as you know. Honestly speaking. So in my way of, so I deeply thought about this. See, somebody who is as wise as Mark Anderson or someone who is Paul Graham, they will not say something just like that. I have this innate respect for people who bring their thoughts. So why did they say what did they say, right? So it's about the accountability and ownership of the product, irrespective of me knowing and not knowing things. So as a product manager, if you are taking that accountability, I'm going to be responsible for my product success. I'm going to be accountable for my product success. In that sense, you are the CEO of the product. You don't care, whether somebody did or not, and you're going to work towards working with that person and make it a success. So if your CEO didn't have that accountability, would we really respect them? So in that sense, I because my definition of the CEO is accountability and the success of the company, I translate it into accountability and the success of the product. And that's a product manager. I think that's a very privileged position to be in, to really be the CEO of the product. And if somebody tells you that, say that, yes, I want to.
Yeah. Understood. Yep. So the accountability part and how the CEO has everything on stake.
Yes.
So for the CEO, it's the company. For the product manager, it's the product.
That's it.
So the only point where I diverge from this entire statement and I put forward
I know what you're going to ask me. All right, Karthi, I'm not given funds, I'm not given people, I'm not given the luxury that a CEO is given. I'm not even paid that much. Like, what are you talking about, right? So, they are paid.
Yeah, I have something different. So
okay, sure.
Apart from product manager is the CEO of the product, there's one more very popular saying about product managers, which is influence without authority.
Mm.
What makes a product manager? If you have influence without authority, and that's where we started today's session as well, that you need to have brilliant storytelling things to exert influence without having authority. But if we put these two in comparison, a product manager and the CEO, regardless of the accountability a CEO has, the ownership they also have authority over people. So if I go to my marketing team and I tell them that this is how I would like to make sure that my product enters the market,
Right.
at that point, it is my job to convince them to follow me, right? But if I'm the CEO, then it is my job just to tell them that this is how I want the product to enter the market, and they'll work according to that. So
I
that
don't know how many of you have truly worked with your CEOs. As much as it feels like they have all the authority, uh, typically in the leadership position, they breathe ozone. Honestly, they don't even breathe oxygen. It's one of those lonely worlds. It's a lonely planet to be a CEO. So I have been in different capacities and I have worked with many. So, and hence I'm saying it.
Mhm.
They cannot come and put an iron fist and tell you that, Karthi, do this because I'm the CEO. And people like me will walk with a middle finger on and say, no, this is not the right thing to do. Typically, when you are a CEO, you actually exert phenomenal influence over your people. You need to gain respect from them, right? Yes, you have a hierarchical structure because of the accountability, but they can't put power on you and say, here, this is what you should be doing, especially in good product companies. I have not seen the CEO come and tell me what to do in design. No, I tell the CEO what to do in design. So, in that sense, they do influence me and they don't have that authority over me, right? So, this is somebody who closely works with CEOs. I'm telling you, I have been a coach to many of them, and I know their problems. This is something we think from outside that they have the power and they come and tell you. So when my CEO comes and tells me, I want you to change what you are doing, they actually sit and explain to me why this must be done. What is the objective? Why what I am thinking is not aligned with the idea at the center and things like that. So in many ways, your CEO also functions without authority but heavily on influence. So we talk about power like it's a spectrum, right? One end it is brute force, like do it. I'm not waiting for you, right? The other end is influence and persuasion and persuasion, things like that. So when you are a CEO, 90% of the time you work in this area. Very few, like probably 1 to 5% of the time, my CEO has told me, do this. And they actually give me time and say, I want you to think about this because we want to go after this market and you don't have that view, and let me give you and talk to this person, this person, this person, come together, do stuff. All of that is influence. It's not force. So there is authority and there is no authority. So it's a very interesting place to be.
Understood. That's a new perspective that I am taking home. So thank you for that. And yes, so we have Mohit who can say, yeah. So let's move to the next question, and which is also the final question in the presentation. So after this, we will be open for questions in the Q&A box on the chat.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So the last question is, what is product portfolio? I mean, the entire idea of a product portfolio that you build something, what you've done over the years is, that's pretty evident. But as a person who's going out and taking a step into an industry of, let's say you come from sales or you come from marketing and you step into the product management field, and then what
I
value?
get it.
Yeah.
I think a portfolio is important for all roles and especially for design and product. Definitely it helps. So a great product portfolio definitely shows 2 to 3 things clearly. One, did you understand your customer? Did you understand the profile of the customer? Did you deliver value to this customer? Was it designed, kind of put together well as a product or a feature or even a service for that matter? Was it delivered to the customer? And most importantly, how was your journey as a product? How did you start your MVP? Even before you come to your MVP, was there a mini MVP, things like that? So it is important to showcase your process, your customer understanding, and your product building ability in a portfolio for sure. So how to do this? One of the things that I have seen work really, really well is do a number of experiments, number of product experiments. Why? Because if you do 100, probably 20, 25 of them will be successful. It's quantity over quality. So I love these permissionless projects, right? I don't need permission from Gaurav to go ahead and give advice on how Insaid can become better as an education company. And I can document my thoughts. Whether you take it or not, it's a part of my portfolio. So it's a permissionless project that I worked on, and I have it as a part of my portfolio. And there are permissioned projects, like commissioned projects to me. People pay me to advise them or, build it for them. So you're showing your learnability through your permissionless projects. You're showing your professional skills and executional skills through the permissioned projects. It could be a side hustle. It could be a main hustle. It could be anything. But it is important to showcase that you are continuously on it, right? Because it's very interesting. People come and tell me that I am super passionate about product design, Karthi. And I'm like, okay, show me your passion. Show me your passion. And they get startled by that question. Then they ask me, what do you mean show me your passion? I'm like, how long have you been passionate about product design? When did you start dabbling about it? Maybe a year now. Okay, buddy, if a year has 365 days, I will give you 65 days. 300 days. If you worked 2 hours a day, that's about 600 hours worth of work. Show me that. Everything falls flat because passion is not a word, right? It's a habit. So what have you done with it? What have you written about? What have you, sliced and diced? What have you audited? What have you designed? What have you, created anew? What have you appended? You take existing. See, for a problem solver, all you need is a bloody problem, and we have so many of them. So take different problems and just solve them, and at least solve them for the fun of it. You don't have to be invested in, you don't have to work for a company. Can I go ahead and make, say, PowerPoint better? We have designed it and we are a $2 trillion company. But does it hurt to hear from one more, Karthi, how PowerPoint can be designed better? So when they look at the volume of work and you becoming better over a period of time, what you were in the first day and what you are at your 300th day, they want you. They want to hire you. I would not leave a person like that. I would write, pages of business case and go and hire that person. We don't have such people. We only talk. So that's why I have this this line quoted many times, like, action speaks louder than your plan. Don't tell me what is your plan for being passionate. show me your passion.
Hmm.
And then it is a great portfolio already. And just add a little bit of design, make it look little polished.
Hmm.
Even better, build it in public so the world will know. So these days, we don't hire based on applications that come. The
Hmm.
same scarcity abundance principle, right? When somebody comes to us, we don't revere them. When we go to somebody, that's very important, right? So we go to somebody who is writing constantly in social media, sharing thoughts, having good engagement, has built a great portfolio. For me, my LinkedIn is my portfolio. I don't have a portfolio otherwise.
Hmm.
I don't even have a resume. In fact, it was very funny that when I reached out to some of my leadership friends in Microsoft, he asked me, "Can you send me your resume?" I said, "I don't have one. Will you give me some time that I type it something and send it to you?" He's like, "Everything can keep moving, and whenever you're ready with your resume, we will talk." And that's it. So people don't care about a document called portfolio. People care about who you are.
Hmm.
And because it was a personal situation that I went back to corporate, they didn't have a position for me. Honestly, they didn't. So they created a position.
Hmm.
So your manager will go, leaps ahead to make you a part of their team.
Hmm.
They also want to grow, right? They want good people. So your portfolio is you, like how you are.
Hmm. Understood. And that is something that is what this is one problem statement that we encounter a lot as well, because most of the people they are under the dilemma that right now we are not product managers. How can we work on products? And that is where we go out and tell them that you can pick out any product of your choice. You don't like Zomato. Zomato screwed up your order one day, or their customer service was not as per the mark. Design a customer service feature for Zomato, document it somewhere.
Yeah.
And to solve this problem, what we did was we went ahead and on the student dashboard, we created a separate feature called product portfolio, where
Mm,
we are segmented on the basis of research, strategy, design, UI, UX development, and we just put in problem statements every week so that if you don't even have a problem statement, you just have to come here and you have to read
mm,
the problem statement and go ahead and attempt it. You don't even
right.
go out somewhere. So right now, everyone listening now, I hope all of you understand what's the value of a product portfolio and how much it can boost you up in terms of your competition. Because at the end of the day, you want to enter the field, right? That's
Yeah.
the even if you want to
Yeah.
build great products, that is only possible when you have the resources.
No,
And
I would say entering into the field is easy.
hmm,
I'll tell you why. 99% of the people are just consumers.
hmm,
There are only 1% of people who are creators.
hmm,
I'm not talking about content creators. I'm talking about product creators,
hmm,
right? There's only 1% of them who are out there. So joining the league of 99% and kind of, come out on top of 99 is very hard. But
hmm,
being a part of 1% is a lot easier. Just make a switch just by changing, your ways of working into creation, as simple as that.
hmm,
So I know that some of you might have questions like, but Karthi, you have access to leadership. You're able to say all of these things. How can I, I totally understand what you're saying. But it is important for you to keep showing up every single day. Over a period of time, you will not believe this. Just 30 days.
hmm,
I made my students do it. I have about, in my education stint, I had about 3,000 students under me. And I also have been professor in different capacities. So one thing that I made all my students do, 30 days, consistently keep doing what you love to do. You're showing your passion, right? And 30 days later, every single one of them got pings in their DM saying that we want to talk to you.
hmm,
So if you are, so I will put three words here: visibility, credibility, delivery,
hmm,
right? If you make yourself visible, if your work is credible and authentic, and if you're able to deliver on time, you have the necessary work ethic, people will want you. Now, the question you should be asking is, how can I show me, in a visible, credible, deliverable manner? That's all matters. And there are so many techniques to it. So these days, I'm spending a lot of my time and energy not teaching people how to do it, but in pushing people to do it. If you want to become a great writer, write. If you want to become a great pianist, practice on the piano every day. You have to do it. Just by watching somebody do a piano, you will not get it, right? Watching so many people writing about products, you're not going to get it. You need to work with your, so to me, it sounds easy. Consistently, if you compound your competency, you will be noticed. And there are several techniques on how to DM people, write cold emails.
Yes.
Get better in articulating and communicating who you are. We want people like that. We don't have people like that in the industry. Talent hunt is super hard, I'm telling you. Super, super hard.
Yes. And
there are people, okay? There are very few good people. There are really few great people. And we want the great people.
Understood. So I hope everyone's listening. And in this past 1 hour, Karthi has also told you how to be great. So you can start practicing that. And as you said, that if you want to write, just keep writing. If you want to play a piano, keep practicing. And that is something that I heard someone say, that we all know what great music sounds like. If you check our playlist, we all have great music. But the day we'll start creating music, it would sound as the worst music piece ever created.
Yes. And I will also put it on a very positive note, Gaurav, that every master once played to an empty room.
Yes.
Every master. Yeah. Because it is so horrible that nobody wants to listen to it. But you need to start somewhere, right? So when you are asking, okay, I am aspiring to be a product manager. I am just out of college. I am transitioning. I am becoming a growth product manager. What is the advice is the same. Keep thinking, keep doing, keep articulating. Because if your thinking process is not known, intangible, right? Abstract. I don't know how you think. You need to show it to me. And then put some screens, put some wireframes, put some case studies, write about it. So these are, use your meta skills to really communicate and articulate. I think that is the key. We don't have product managers who are so clear in their thoughts. They need to show that they are embracing ambiguity, because you swim in one. And then you seek clarity. So your job is to bring clarity to the entire organization, to the entire product, and for your customers as well. It's a hard job. You need to get a lot of things right to be a good product manager. And that lot of things right is not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody can become a great product manager, because it is a composite skill. So go and focus on the most important aspects, and you will be, you will shine for sure.
Understood. Great. And so if you keep practicing, there will come a point where your skill becomes a habit, and you will eventually succeed in whatever you're trying to do. Right?
Absolutely.
We have some questions in the Q&A box as well. I'll go through some of them and just was reading an ebook today on the topic.
If Insaid wants to create great talented PMs, what does it need to focus on? It should focus on pushing you hard every day so that you will consistently compound your competence of product management. That is the only thing that has to be done. Because moving makers is the hardest thing I have seen, at least in my tenure. It's been extremely hard to move people. That's what we do in the reading club, in the writing club. So habit formation, doing things that are hard, that needs work.
So Pramod has a very interesting question, and I think it's a very specific questions, but let's give it a shot. That he was reading an ebook today, and the topic was dangerous animals of product management. That is the first time that I'm hearing of this book, and I'll
Oh
surely
yeah.
out,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So there are wolf, rhino, hippo, zebra,
People, yeah, yeah.
puffin goose. So what role or kind of strategy you need to implement in with regards, and please explain each and every dangerous animal with example. So Pramod, explaining each and every dangerous animal with an example would not be possible due to the time constraint. But let's have Karthi's opinion on the book itself, of what the book is, if she has read the book.
I know that this was first published by Producthood when they talked about the dangerous animals. So as somebody who comes from, as a behavioral scientist, let me put it the other way around. There are dangerous animals always in our ecosystem, definitely in our organization, right? The highest paid person in the room will influence a lot of decision making, right? So it is just going back to what we talked as principles, understanding human nature and human behavior. So once we understand human nature and human behavior, we can assess their human performance. And that is exactly what you should be doing as a product manager. Read the room, look at people. What is ticking them, right? There are two parts to it, right? Working with yourself to be a better product manager, working with others to make the product success happen. So if you understand you very well, as I said, you will also start understanding what is important for the other person. Remember, you cannot work with somebody who doesn't have something important in their, if you and the other person are working, and if you don't both have an aligned idea at the center, you can't work with each other. If I am thinking south and that person is thinking north, first you need to bring both of you into one place. Either you go north or bring that person to south. And that is what is influence all about. So dangerous animals are always there. Sometimes dangerous animals are big, large, powerful, roaring, all of that stuff. And you might be a mouse, you might be a rabbit, you might be, running around small and meek and not having so much energy and weak and all of that stuff. But we all exist in the forest, isn't it? We all exist. So one thing I wanted to, it's very counterintuitive, but I definitely want to say this. I know that, when you're an employee, then you need to look at your hierarchy and authorities and the type of animals that you work with and all that brilliant stuff. But when you are an employee, remember, you also have choice. If you are good, and if the organization is not understanding that you're good, and if they are not enabling you, and if your life is made really, really hard, then you have a choice to move on. At the end of the day, we are like gundas, right? You give your time and skills to anybody that promises you growth and a good salary. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but that's what it is. So you have a choice. For an employee, there are so many opportunities, and so does an employer. So we are choosing each other because we fit with each other. So having that perseverance to work with the dangerous animals will give you more grit and patience, and it will teach you a completely different set of skills. If you want a hippo to listen to you, then you should add something more valuable. All human beings work on the mutual value scheme. That person should get something out of you, and it should be a good deal. Only then that person will associate with you. So find ways of creating those things. So this is more about relationship building, ally building, creating that tribe community, caring about the same thing, articulating what you want clearly, not getting frustrated, just looking at it from their point of view, enrolling them into your, this is what I want to get done. So that is a skill. That's a skill a lot of us don't have.
Understood. And Yes,
You
that's
have a choice.
yeah.
Folks, if you're really going into toxicity, the animal is eating you every day, you have a choice to leave that place. A CEO doesn't have that choice. Generally, they don't. You have, I have.
Understood. Yep. So before we move to the next question, I forgot a very important thing. So for all the participants today, we're going to have a challenge after this session. So what I will do is I will share a Google form link in the chat, and I want all of you to fill in your details, and then we'll see how much of this session and how much of the information that Karthi has shared with us, you have retained that information, and what are the different ways that you will be using those information in your personal work or your professional life, right? So I posted the link in the chat. So the challenge is dedicated to Karthi, right? So make sure that you fill the form, you fill in the information, and we'll email you after the session, right? So everyone go to the form, fill in your details, and then we move forward, right? So meanwhile, I'll go through the list of all the questions that we have and see what we have. Yes, everyone, the recording will be uploaded in the LMS, so don't worry about it. Great. So if you haven't filled the form, just go on the form and fill. Done. Perfect.
You can definitely connect with me through social media. I am quite active in LinkedIn. I couldn't handle too many things. So Twitter, every now and then, probably weekly once. But LinkedIn, I do it every day. So feel free to connect with me, and I'm happy to have some DMs with. I mean, my interest is in developing a maker community. That is where this book club and writing club and all of these things are done. Because after a period of life, you want to give back, and this is my chance of giving back. So please, come and join all these lovely initiatives that we are taking. Come and make it better. You will learn more product management than otherwise. So you're welcome.
Yeah. So I have listed the next question that I want to ask you. So at this stage right now, we know that you're full of wisdom. You have a lot of experience with you. You've shared such wonderful insights with you. But we all would like to know, how did your product journey start? What was the beginning like? How was the very beginning of the journey in the product spectrum? Because when you would have started it, it would have been a space that almost no one would have been aware of. Because right now
Yeah.
it's
So most of us start as employees, right? Which means somebody tells you what to do, or at least somebody gives you an idea of which area you should be working in. So typically, your product journey is fixed by somebody. I'll put it that way. So my journey was fixed by my bosses, right? So they came and told me, we want you to create an electronic bill presentment and payment system for insurance. Fair enough. We want to create a dashboard for accident and fraud analysis. Okay. We want to create a HR dashboard using a SQL query and make sure that it is all showing up on what is the kind of people, loans, blah. So the problem statement is typically defined by your bosses. One place where I distinctly kind of took it to the leadership role is I stayed in the problem area that they gave me. I stayed in exactly what we need to, kind of deliver. But I started looking at within this area, what could we do better? For example, this started when I became at that time I was called as the human factors engineer. I don't know what that even means today, right? So it's basically somebody who takes care of the product. That's it. And I was doing printing and printers. Gosh, it's one of those boring things, boxy little creatures. Who cares about printers? I have never touched. I mean, how many times do you even touch your printer? I haven't, right? And most of us don't. So, how do you work on something that people come to only when they really need it? And most of the times it is dusty and it is lying there. So, you start wondering about that problem statement. And I was able to create at least 50 plus innovations in that area. We got 19 plus patents on that. And that is a proud moment. It was very exciting when we got a message from Steve Jobs himself sharing that now HP is thinking design. I'm very excited to keep your printer on my desk. So far, it was my footrest. And that's a very powerful, not that I wanted approval from Steve Jobs for it, but somebody acknowledged that the design in printer is a good idea. Because I know I fought tooth and nail for creating that aluminum trim, that swivel, which will give a soft landing. I fought so much for that white LED and take away that blue LED. Mattered so much, right? So it is important for us to find how can we do this job better? Because that nobody is going to tell you. They will only define an area. So you go and define what you can do within that. I think that privilege is still ours.
Understood. Great. And that's something that I think all of us must understand, because you cannot know where you'll end up. In the beginning, it is everyone else who's deciding for you. And then from that, you learn. And
when you go to leadership, right? Now, if I go and ask my boss, what should I do? He tells me, you tell me, what do you want to do? Right? So there will be a time in your career where you will decide what should be done. And that needs phenomenal leadership. So I recognize that leadership and management are two different things. And leadership has nothing to do with your position, your title, your salary, nothing. You can start being a leader from day one, right? And leadership is all about taking accountability and having a vision, seeing something that others are not able to see. That's it, right? And you're leading them. Hey, I see it, come with me, right? And people don't follow you just like that. You have to show them what it is, and then they will follow you. So I think when you practice enough over a period of time, when you are pushed to give that, no, you tell me what to do, I think you will do it better. If you never had that opportunity or that muscle was never used, then you will struggle in the leadership role. Those are the leaders who stumble on, bad vision, bad strategies, stupid decisions. We see them all the time, and they are very costly.
Understood. Great. So thank you so much for sharing that, Karthi. It was wonderful. And with this, I'll again ask everyone to fill the form for the competition, because it will be a really fun one. So I've shared the link again, so you can go ahead and fill the form. And with this, thank you so much, Karthi, for sharing your story, sharing your experiences, and whatever learnings you have had over all these years. It was wonderful for me. It was wonderful. I'm very certain it was wonderful for everyone else present in the session as well. And with this, we'll wrap up the session. We are just at time, and we have Mr. Suchit with us as well. So if Suchit sir, you want to say something, the mic is yours.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry for the glitch. One of you have to enable my camera. I can't enable my camera.
No problem, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Karthi, first of all, thank you for kind of sparing some valuable time of yours to kind of help for all the audiences here at Insaid. For us, it's been kind of great ride so far in the product management space, and we've been fortunate enough to have served a lot of students who are trying to kind of make a transition to the space. Uh, when we call speakers such as you, it really adds a lot of value to their learning, specifically not in class but out of the class. Something that's more practical, something that's more real world. Okay, so I think this opportunity, friends, I hope all of you have noted on every word of Karthi, because I found each of these words really valuable and really important. So please make sure that all of you utilize whatever we have learned in this last 1 hour, 1.5 hours, whatever we have learned from Karthi. Please try to utilize this as much as possible in your day-to-day job. And more importantly, please understand some of the fundamental ideas that Karthi shared today, which is like you don't, and nowadays no company wants to kind of hire people just based on their resume. It's what you do is what matters, right? As Insaid, we definitely are trying to make your life easier by kind of making it a no-brainer for most of you. But as Karthi also suggested, that Insaid can't do that work for you, right? Insaid can only show you the path, but that extra bit of making yourself notice outside, or making yourself worthy to the outside world, that's where we would really appreciate if all of you kind of come forward. And that's the whole reason why we start this first of its kind the competition that we are doing. So this is dedicated to Karthi, because he actually was an inspiration behind this idea that we will, going forward, we will apply whatever we are learning in these industry sessions. We are going to apply the same to these competitions. And I hope all of you have learned quite a bit from today's session. And let's see how much have you guys been able to understand and comprehend, and now how you apply it. That's something very relevant, very important. And maybe, Karthi, if you're okay, maybe we'll share you some of the best ideas, and maybe you can share some words of advice for them as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sorry to add.
I think you're muted, Karthi, or we are not able to hear you, Karthi. Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, my speaker was off. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no
so
problem.
yeah, sorry, Karthi.
So I'm sorry to add more work to you, but this is what will give you an opportunity to go ahead and explore, because the boundary is kind of given. The timeline is set and it's a competition. It's fun, right? So go ahead and give your best shot, and I'm sure something great will come. Believe me, everything that comes out like this is a part of your portfolio. Everything, right? So then when you have like hundreds in your portfolio, you have the privilege to go and choose the top 10, top 5, and it becomes so much better. So focus on quantity. Quality comes when your quantity is high, right? Please do your best. Abundance, bring abundance. That's the only way to go to scarcity, by the way. Yeah. So
I think golden words. I think you really need to have quantity. The more you do, the better you learn.
Absolutely. So tag me, and if at all you're posting socially, tag me, and I will be happy to cheer you from the sidelines. And if you need any tips is a bad word, but if you need anything, like go through this, I wanted to understand this, slice it, dice it, happy to do that. Yeah. I might not do it like immediately, but definitely I'll get back on time within a week at least, for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. I think, yeah.
Fantastic.
So Karthi, once again, a big thank you from the Insaid team.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great hosting you, and it was great learning. The last 1 hour, it just breezed through. I somehow felt like we should have had this session for at least 2-3 hours. So it's just that it went too fast. So I just hope that we could have spent some more time with you. But overall, thanks a lot. And on behalf of the entire community, I would like to thank you once again. And yeah, we'll look forward to some really awesome inputs after what we have learned from Karthi. Make sure that all of us give in our best, and make sure the competition outcomes are really awesome. So yeah, thank you all, Gaurav. So that's all for us today, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
thank you, Gaurav, and above all, the 90+ folks who are here. Thank you so much for tuning in on a Sunday. I had fun. I mean, I spoke from my heart, so there was nothing for me to really prepare and think. And so it was very, very good. It was like speaking to my tribe. So it's amazing. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of this interesting competition.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Karthi. And it was wonderful having you here. And it was a learning experience for everyone present in this room. And thank you so much for taking out the time. I hope, yes, as everyone's mentioning, the Golden Sunday.
Golden Sunday.
Yes, it was a Golden Sunday indeed. And with this, so everyone, make sure that whatever you've learned in this session, you carry it forward, not just for a week, for months, but throughout your entire product management journey or any journey that you want to pursue. So with this, we'll wrap up the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for being so patient with us, asking your questions in the chat, in the Q&A box, and looking forward to have all of you in the next wonderful sessions. Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye, Karthi. Bye, Sujit sir.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.